Good morning. It's Tracy Hayes with the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. I have a special guest this morning. We are going to be talking about all things in the market, especially down in St. Augustine. So I've got Julia Almstead with the Julia Almstead team with Keller Williams Atlantic Partners. And Julia, good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year. How are you,
Happy New
Tracy?
Year to you. We're kicking off. We're already up our third sunrise here of the new year, and
I know.
wanted to reach out, see what's going on in St. Augustine, get everyone informed what the market update, what your team's doing, and what your goals are for 24. So, but I wrote down here in my notes. I want to reflect back a little bit on 23 and just some of the successes and challenges that you had, and as you develop your goals for 24, coming off of 23, and what kind of year it was for you.
Yeah, it was a fairly good year in 2023. Not bad. And thanks for having us back on, or having me back on
Yeah.
your podcast. I always appreciate it. It's exciting times in the market. It's a good time to be in real estate always. Right now, I've been in the business. I'm going on my 13th year. So, and prior to that, I worked for a developer. So I've been in the business a long time, and I've seen the market when it came to a halt before in the early 2000s when I worked for a developer. So it was nothing new for me in 2023 when this summer things kind of came to a screeching halt due to interest rates.
Right.
And we became very intentional with our business at that time. And we started making calls and really, touching base with our database. And it worked. And we did almost as well as we did in 2022. We missed it just by a couple million in terms of volume, closed volume. But we still helped 32 families and did a decent business in a very wonky market,
Right.
What I can say is, during the COVID years, we had very low inventory, tons of buyers, and everybody was just kind of, shooting from the hip, seeing what sticks, just take out the next customer, get out there, show properties. Everyone's writing offers, and then that totally changed in 2023. I think the
What did you
first quarter
see?
was
Like you
good.
said, you used the word screeching halt. So you did notice all of a sudden there was a change. So you had to change gears as far as your marketing and reaching out and that sort of thing. In your mix of your 32 customers, because
Hmm.
we still have a huge lack of inventory, you know, regionally, really in Florida in general, but our region is really short on inventory because we aren't seeing the local people who the interest rates are so low. They bought in this subdivision a couple years ago, and they're like, "Oh, let's just move over to this one because our friends over there." And you're not seeing those local moves going on, so they're not putting their house up for sale. So you had
Right.
the inventory crunch. How are
Well,
from the new
I
construction
actually,
to existing home mix that you're getting?
well, I do feel that new construction has always in the last recent 4 or 5 years has surpassed resales.
Hmm.
They've always gotten the majority of the buyers. I think a lot of those are out of town buyers, out of state buyers. Florida will always be a state that people migrate to, especially in the winter. So I think that, it's a little bit of a transient state. I think with COVID, we saw a lot of people rush down here, buy, not really know the area, and then have some remorse. So
Hmm.
we saw some buyer's remorse. So some of those houses have come back on the market. Recently, our inventory actually has increased in this last quarter of 2023. So like during 2022 and the COVID years, we had about 2 months worth of inventory, which is extremely low, and a seller's market. A healthy market for a buyer would be 6 months worth of inventory, and we're pretty much there now. So we actually have seen an increase in inventory in this last quarter.
Do you
I
think it's
think things have
because the higher interest rates, the buyers slowed down a little bit here in the last quarter, and
definitely
therefore the
buyers have
inventory
slowed
wasn't moving
down.
as quickly?
Correct.
Hmm.
Inventory is definitely not moving as quickly. In some cases, yeah, we still have little small pockets of areas where it's popular and people want it. But even in Nocatee, which was 30 people on one house during the COVID years, you're actually seeing inventory in Nocatee, which I never thought I would see that.
Right.
And that's always been a wonderful, master plan community. And people have wanted that, neighborhood for a long time. And I really never dreamed I would see inventory. So our team works St. Johns County majority and St. Augustine, but we do work up to the 210 area, Racetrack Road, and then we do spill into Palm Coast a little bit, just because some people start here and then they think they want St. Augustine, and then some end up going north, some end up going south.
Right.
So we are members of NEFAR St. John's Board of Realtors, where, I sat as secretary this past year and director the year before. And then I also belong to Flagler. So we do that to be able to give, full exposure to our sellers when we list, and then to buyers when they need information and data.
So for our real estate friends, which I know you have a fan club down there at Atlantic Partners and the St. Augustine office that might be watching.
Yeah.
From what you learned in 23, as we turn the calendar now, from what you learned, and obviously, the market conditions, now rates have come down, so that's going to benefit hopefully some buyers. A few more buyers get a little more incentivized to buy now that we're now
Sure.
talking lower sixes in a lot of cases, or buying it down further. But from that case, what is Julia and the Julia Almstead team? What is your 24 game plan in as far as marketing and from what you learned in 23?
Sure. So our word of the year is intentional. And we want to be very intentional in our business. We want to really lean into our business. Our database is going to be what we lean on the most. Our sphere of influence, because we know, excuse me, that the majority of our business comes from our sphere of influence. And it's just something we've known for years. Right. As soon as things get a little wonky, all you need to do is touch back with your with your database. If you've been doing that though, and you have a good system in place with your CRM, and you keep in touch with people, at least 36 touches per year, people won't forget about you. They'll remember that you're their realtor. And when they have a question or want to make a move, in this day and age, we're still seeing people want to make a move and upgrading their homes. People are still working from home a lot. They need a bigger home with an office space. I know that we went back last year at the beginning of 2023, and we went back 2 years and analyzed where the majority of our sales came from. And it came from a core of 35 people. And it was mostly, referral agents or repeat customers or referrals from our customers. So that was our core of our business. And it's really just that simple. If people go back and look at where did this sale come from, where did this transaction come from, you'll find that it's not typically from online leads. Some of it is from open houses. I'm a big believer in doing open houses. I do believe that people come in, they don't feel comfortable meeting a realtor or leaning on them for advice on how to buy a home. A lot of people don't, first-time home buyers, they have no idea how to buy a home. So they start getting a little bit, brave to walk into an open house. And then sometimes you connect with a realtor and then voila, you've got yourself a buyer, and you start coaching them and educating them and that sort of thing. But open houses, I'm finding also in 2023, and going into 24, we're going to do lots of them. We found that most people didn't want to bother a realtor, and they wanted to go see the house on their own when they were ready and when that house was open. And then they would call their realtor and say, hey, we just saw this house. We really like it. One of the things we always ask when they come into our open houses, are you working with a realtor? And it's on our sign-in sheet. And then if they say yes, we always ask, well, who is that person? And then I always go back and text or call the person and say, hey, your buyer was into my open house today. Can you check with them and see if you have some feedback? Are they interested? And so on and so forth. But open houses is another great way to just, get out there.
Let's tap on that, and maybe we can help some agents out there. And through some trial and error, obviously you've discovered and obviously asked some questions to the people coming in, they weren't ready really to talk to a realtor. Maybe they thought a realtor was going to pressure them, so they wanted to just go out and check out places like they walk in the models, right? I mean, how many times does
Right.
people walk in the model homes years in advance? I mean,
Yeah.
type of thing, just kind of dreamscaping or whatever. Um,
And they
from
have
what
no
you've
idea what
learned,
that process is either.
what are some key things that you try to accomplish before you have an open house? Say this Saturday. What are things you're
Mhm.
doing today to prep for it so that it is not only benefiting you, but it's obviously benefiting the people selling the home? That's what you're trying to do as well. But ultimately, open houses are great. I want to call them traps, but to get introduced to these buyers who don't have representation yet. So what do you kind of do to prep for an open house? Like say if you had one this weekend.
Well, if you were to do it, in my opinion, correctly, you should do it 2 weeks in advance. And you should schedule it on all the MLSs you belong to, which will then, kick it out to all the major real estate sites. And then you should be doing a mailer in advance, inviting all the neighbors. And you can set it up two different ways. You can either invite them in when the open house is going on for the public, or you can invite them in an hour prior to the public and say, we have an exclusive 1 hour time for all neighbors to come in and see this home. We know that the majority of neighbors would like to pick who their next door neighbor is going to be. Perhaps you have a family member or a friend who would like to come in, and like I have one house I did over at the beach, St. Augustine Beach, and the majority of the people in the first weekend we did the open house were 100% neighbors. And they were curious to know how my sellers had set this house up because it was used as a rental property. It was
Okay.
two rental properties in one. So they were just curious. And so I got to talk to a lot of people that way. I, did actually pick up $1 million buyer at that open house.
Nice.
One was a neighbor, but she's looking to invest, somewhere on the beach. So I'm like, hey, there you go. You just never know. But that's something we weren't doing during COVID because no one had time. We
Right.
were just all slammed working 7 days a week. It was just the phone was ringing constantly. People were moving down here from all over the place. And we really just didn't have time to nurture our customers or our database.
Right.
One of the other
I
things.
like the way, because intentional is your word for 24,
Hmm.
and you got to go at an open house. I think I'm summing up, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this statement. You got to go at the open house with the intention of
Hmm.
obvious. You don't want to go over there and sit for 2 hours and not meet anybody. And I think a lot
Right.
of agents just go through the motion. They stick the sign in the yard. They sit there, but you actually have to create an
Mhm.
event, and you create an event by having the VIP hour
Exclusive.
before, those type of things, to get some people to walk in. And
Right.
there is no doubt especially in even just our standard subdivisions, big or large in this area, a lot of the people are telling their friends, especially if they move from out of state, hey, you need
Hmm.
to move into my subdivision. This is
Right.
great. We have all these things. So they are wanting to select their neighbors. They're calling their friends saying, hey, come
Sure.
move in here.
Absolutely. One of the other things you can do for the open house, and that's just one small part of it, we also advertise and run an ad through our database, which allows us to do Facebook and Instagram and Google ads. So we will run an ad for a week prior to the.
Oop, did I lose you?
Did
Oh,
I
there
cut
you are. You're
out?
back.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Um, so you could also, run an ad and then get the leads in throughout the week or two prior so that you can actually follow up with those people and invite them into the open house. And then the other thing you can do is door knock and invite the neighbors in. And typically we like to door knock 5 houses across the street, 5 houses, I'm sorry, 10 across the street, 5 to the right, and 5 to the left.
Right.
So whichever direction, but you want to hit about 20 houses and you invite them in. If you can't do it or you don't have the nerve to do it beforehand, do it on the morning of the open house and just go knock on the neighbor's door and say, hey, I'm having an open house today. Just wanted to come by, make you aware. I apologize if people block your driveway or park too close to your driveway.
Exactly.
Here's my number. Just call me if someone's blocking your driveway. And by the way, if you guys want to stop by, come on in and come check out the listing today. And you just never know where the next deal is going to come from, where the buyer is going to come from for your listing. But I'm noticing we're getting a lot more foot traffic during open houses than we ever have before.
Interesting.
I think the holidays can be wonky. Sometimes you do them on a holiday weekend, you get a ton of people, and other times you can do it on a holiday and you get no one. So it just depends on what's going on in town, especially here in St. Augustine.
What do you do? Okay, so that's before we're prepping. Now you're actually in the open house. What are some of the things you do to make sure they fill out, your sign-in form?
The sign-in sheet. Information. So one of the things I do require, and I think it's just a requirement in general for liability reasons, if someone walks through the house, you have to have them sign in, because what if someone fell and got hurt? What if someone stole something? You have to know who's just walked into the house. So I actually have a little sign that says, "Welcome to our open house. Upon entering, you will be required to sign in." And this way, I don't even have to tell them, "Hey, by the way, you're going to have to sign in once you get here." We've used 2 different methods for sign-ins, actually 3. We've used iPads where we use Open Pro as an app and you have people type it in. I feel like lately no one likes to go to an iPad and start typing in all their information. If you just hand them a pen and a paper, they'll sign in a lot easier, and you can have a series of questions there. We've also done a little clipboard, and we hand them the clipboard and say, "Thank you for coming to our open house. We appreciate it. We'd love to show you guys around, but we've promised our seller we will get them feedback from every person who's come in." And we have a series of 5 questions from 1 to 5, and we ask them to rate the property. And on that, they add in their information, who they are they working with a realtor, and contact information. And we have 5 little clipboards, and we hand people a pen and the clipboards as they walk in.
Nice.
So that's the other way
that's a great idea, because they automatically, now they're putting the pen and saying, making some comments. Was it priced right or whatever? The different things, questions you have on there. So the pen's already rolling, and then you get to the point of, hey, to get their personal information versus coming right out and saying, "Hey, I want your name and number right here." Sometimes, people, I mean, it's a natural thing. They just don't want to fill it out. They just want to say no. But, if you ask them for some help, then they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you need some help? I'll help you."
Sure. Like, tell me what you think about the property, give me some feedback. And then, of course, I have my pens with my name and business name and, phone number on it.
So I've got one right here, actually, if I get it from my camera.
Oh, you have one? All right. Awesome. I'll show you the clipboard, too, real quick. So this is what the clipboard looks like. It's a mini one.
Yeah.
And it has the questions on it. And, basically it's from 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. Curb appeal, first impression upon entering. What do you think about the kitchen and family room, master bedroom, backyard? How close does this come to meeting your criteria? Do you feel this home is a bargain, sold value, a little high, priced just right, overpriced? At what price would you be highly likely to buy this home? And so those are the questions. And then we ask them for their name, email, and phone number. And that's a great way to really get some feedback for your sellers. And if you hand this to them, they don't usually go, "I can't take it." They usually reach out, it's a, it's a,
I think natural thing is when you say, "Hey, can you help me?" and get the feedback for the sellers. People generally want to help other people. And when you approach it from that angle, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it works, and then you get to talking, and sometimes they don't talk much. They just look, want to walk around. We let them walk around. And then before they leave, we do ask for that clipboard to be filled out. And most of the time they do it, so it just depends. And if someone doesn't want to sign in, unfortunately, we just can't allow them to come in just for liability reasons. And that's what I explained to them.
Right.
But the majority, we very seldom ever have that situation.
So, all right. So now you've got the majority of people have filled out the clipboard, as many as you can get to do it. How soon are you, what's your next step, and how soon are you taking that next step with those people who have come in?
Immediately. So as soon as they leave, you should text them. Thank you so much for coming by my open
Oh,
house.
nice touch.
If they've given you, the information, you can let them know that you'll be reaching out to their agent to let them know that they stopped by if they do have an agent. But you just want to let them know that you appreciate them coming by, and pretty much immediately. Lately, though, I'm surprised at how many people are coming through saying they don't have a realtor. It's shocking, almost.
Interesting. I
Wow.
think the immediate follow up of just, hey, thanks for coming by. You because you touched them already once with the
Mhm.
conversation, the clipboard. Hopefully, you were able to actually spend some minutes with them, actually, talking to them. But even if they didn't, some of the shyer ones to say, "Hey, we just want to look around." If they at least filled out to where you have their phone number, you're texting them. When the open house say, "Hey, thanks for coming by," it's another touch. And now, of
Correct.
course, they have your cell phone number. Hopefully, they
Mhm.
took your card, but now their cell phone number is actually in their phone because they just received a text message from you, and
Right.
then they could quickly reply back or quickly go into contacts and add your name in there and put a name to the number type of thing. But like you said, there's so that's the second touch, or maybe
Right.
you're on your third touch by now
You
already,
should
and
be
we
calling them
know.
the next
I don't.
day, if not that day, you
Yeah,
know?
the
Yeah,
science
that's
of
your
how many
third
times
touch.
you have to touch somebody before you can get a conversation or go deeper with them. I mean, everyone has 8 to
Mhm.
12 times. I think there's probably some statistics out there, but you're already well on your way.
Oh gosh, well, as a general rule of thumb, I know at Keller Williams, we definitely push 36 touches per year.
Hmm.
So that could be, emails, phone calls, social media. But with social media being what it is today, I mean, they're talking like in the 80s or 90 percentile, you could be, constantly in front of your customers.
Right.
Um, but if you have them in a good system, you should be, doing whatever mailers, customer events. That's the other thing that we want to do this year. I've really been laxed on customer events. We want to do quarterly customer events, just haven't had the time to organize it enough. But it's something that goes a long way. We did a little bit last year. Our office put one on for us. They do that a couple of times a year. We do pie parties for Thanksgiving, Halloween time. And then we did one this year in July. It was huge. It was a barbecue.
Hmm.
And we had, I don't even know how many people showed up, but each realtor in our office who wanted to set up a table, we did it. And I, it seemed like 1,000 people showed up. It was a
Wow.
lot. We had all of the park down by the shores in St. Augustine shores on the water. And we had food for them and, different things for the kids. And each of us were giving out our merchandise, but food and treats and drinks. And it was a lot of fun.
Right.
So I'm lucky to be part of an organization that does that for us. But really, 4 events a year would go a long way for
Right.
customers. It could be something simple, meet at the coffee shop and pick up a bag of coffee or whatever. But your customers really appreciate stuff like that.
Well, I mean, according to our conversation, the number one way you're getting your business is from
Their
customers or
influence.
friends who are
Hmm.
referring you, and so
Right.
where if you want to, you got to focus on that. You got to put the energy towards it because that's where your money's coming from. you know
Not
there you go.
sorry.
That's all right.
Apologize. I
So
had
the
another
focus
call
on
coming
that is
in.
that's awesome. I want to jump in. You mentioned a few minutes ago you had that house out the beach, which actually was a 2 unit. They were using as an investment property, and I know St. Augustine Beach is restrictive on Airbnb, but I
Mhm.
imagine, are you getting a lot of inquiries or for whether it's just an investment property where someone actually just wants to buy an investment property, rent it out year round, or the Airbnb push because obviously we're near the water.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been popular. It is restricted in St. Augustine Beach proper, so there's only 100 permits. But if you're not in St. Augustine Beach proper and you're in the county, then you can go ahead. And this one's in the county area, so you can Airbnb it. There's no restrictions. It's not in an HOA neighborhood. So you'll see a lot more down in the Crescent Beach area, Butler Beach area. You can Airbnb as long as you are falling into the county area. We have another one in the Palm Coast area that's in that unincorporated area by the ocean. We have another listing, a block off the ocean. And I checked with the, Palm Coast and Flagler County, and they said, yeah, absolutely. It's a 3-day minimum countywide, so no big deal. We are seeing, some investors still out there, but I think, and you can probably speak to this because you're a lender, the restrictions on, second home lending changed when you could do 5%, and now they've changed that. We saw a decline in 2023 with investors because a lot of people were buying second homes at 5% down prior to that change in that rule, and then they were Airbnb-ing them, right?
Yeah.
So everyone was becoming an instant investor, buying a second vacation home, using it part of the year, but renting it majority of the year. I lost a couple of buyers just because that rule changed from the 5%. We're in the middle of looking at, a second home, and, the restriction really prevented some people from buying.
Right.
So
Yeah,
have
no,
you
there's
seen
no
a
doubt about
difference in that?
I really felt Florida was the one who brought that on because you had these people from up north, and they weren't buying truly vacation homes. They were buying houses in subdivisions, which really had no vacation quality other than the fact it was in Florida. And
Right.
so they felt they needed to slow that part down. Plus, I think, this is just my opinion. I think because of the housing demand nationally,
Mhm.
we are millions of homes behind where we need to be.
We
That
still
was a
are.
way
Yep.
of slowing that down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think 2024 is going to be a good year. I think that people have to just reach out, call your customers, and find out if you can help them, in
Right.
any way. If they know anyone, who do they know that I should know who wants to buy, sell, and invest? That's a line people can use. Who do you know that I should know who wants to buy, sell, or invest? By
Let's
the
do,
way, people
let's,
people are who's, not that's. So I hate whenever I hear someone go, "Who do you know that I should know?" And I'm like, "It's not that, it's who." It's
who
one
do
of
you
my
know
pet
who I
peeves.
should know? Right.
It's not that, it's who. Who do you know? Not that you should know. So it's who do you know that I should know?
In the St. Johns County, which is primary, like you said, most of your business is in St. Johns County, from the
Mhm.
northern end of 210 all the way down to Crescent Beach, and you're pushing into Flagler.
Mhm.
What are you finding? Are you finding a mixed potpourri of buyers? Whether they're beach or whatever. What kind of buyers are you seeing right now? Are they with family looking for the particular schools? What are you seeing right now in St. Augustine, St. Johns County?
We do have, so we don't, right, we just, our business is turned mostly into listings. We do work with buyers. So recently we've picked up a few buyers. One is an investor, one is a young family out of Jacksonville who want St. Johns County school districts in the
Mhm.
northern part. They actually want St. John's for their schools. So we've got one buyer we're working with there right now. Um, I was going to tell you who the third one was, but I can't think of them right now. Oh, the third one is someone who actually wants to be at the beach. And
Oh, so you have a mix there. Good
so we have a
mix.
mix. And we worked with a lot of cash buyers in
Mm.
2023. So people who, are retired now or sold their house up north, we still saw a lot of that. I've got another buyer right now. I sold his house in St. Augustine, and I haven't sold him anything yet. So he's staying with family, and he's sitting on a pile of cash.
Right.
And he actually, is going to use that cash to invest in real estate. The buyers who bought his home were from California, and they bought two homes here at the same exact time because they didn't trust the stock market. So they took their money from the home they owned for 20, 30 years in LA and actually purchased his home that they could move into I believe they're not actually going to move into it until March, but they're renting it as an Airbnb because that was a rentable area.
Hmm.
And then, and I met them because they flew in and they said, we're going to, use this as our primary at some point because we wanted the schools over here.
Right.
And then they bought a second home and they bought that, sure, purely as an investment. But they believe that one of the best ways to invest their money and secure it was in real estate.
Right.
They obviously, said they were in their house 20 plus years. So these are not people looking to invest. They're going to invest and hold. They're not looking to invest and flip. So
Right.
different types of investors.
Well, just to plug something I did was, several years ago, a lot of people have rollover 401ks. They roll them over into an IRA. There are companies, Equity Trust out of Ohio. They're one company. There's a couple others that specialize in rolling it over into what you want, if you want to call it a real estate IRA, because there are tax ramifications, and take that money instead of putting it in the stock market. Your 401k is not performing. You got all this money there from rollover. It has to be a rollover. You can't take it from your current 401 where you currently work, but the rollovers, and
The
buy
rollover one, yeah.
investment properties. And I bought 2 units myself here in
Nice.
and that was the greatest thing I ever did, because obviously property values went up. We're renting them out. That money's going right back into my IRA. If you don't like the stock market, reach out to Julia, reach out to myself. If you want to know more about Equity Trust and what I've done from a standpoint of that using that IRA, because then in most cases it's a cash buy, but you can actually, even if you say you only had $150,000 in your rollover IRA from a former employer 401k plan, you can actually get a non-recourse loan to match up with that 150. Use that 150 as the down payment and get a loan for the rest of it and purchase yourself an investment property. It can't be a second home. It can't be any benefit for you personally. You can't live there. Your family can't live there, but you can buy a lot of land. You can buy a commercial building. There's a lot of things you can do with that. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So did you buy rentals, and were they condos or single family homes? What'd you end up buying?
We end up buying, because my wife and we now own, I now found out we actually own 7 units now. My wife went and bought a unit,
nice.
didn't tell me, but we have 7 units in the Latira condos. We like it there.
Oh,
My
cool.
parents are
Yeah,
there, so we got them all concentrated in the same space. But help as a realtor herself, she's now, everybody in the community knows who she is, and she's helping out others rent their places out. So we bought 2 units in there with my IRA. So rollover. Yeah.
Cool. And your tenants are paying off your mortgage now.
Yeah, basically, if you think about it, I didn't borrow any money. That was cash money that I had in an IRA that was earning the market at the time. I roll it over there. The rent goes the rent has to go back to the IRA, and any expenses have to come out of the IRA. You can't mix your money with that. So what's great about these companies who specialize in it, they basically have an app. If you need a check to cut to the contractor because he just replaced the air conditioning, you just go in, boom, a check is cut out and fired right over, because it has to come out of your IRA.
Nice. That's some great information.
Yeah. I did have him on, let's see, probably a couple of years ago. I was thinking about having him on again, because, so if I sell the property, the equity that is there will go into my IRA. So instead of earning on the stock market, you go in there and check your balance sheet every day. My IRA is basically the equity of that home right now.
Very cool. Yeah. I love that. That's amazing.
Yep.
I have a financial advisor at Northwest Mutual, and we've talked a little bit about that, but I haven't done it yet, so I didn't know how that all works. So that's great information. Right. So thank you for that. Yep. There's so many creative ways to do it. So our goals for 2024 are to be very intentional. We'd like to help 100 families or customers in 2024. My daughter just got licensed and she's on the team. She's been on the team for a year as an administrative marketing assistant, but she's in production now. Just picked up her first buyer from calling old leads. So I'm proud of her because we've got a full database. But one of the things Gary Keller says is he could tell how much money you're going to make based on how many people you have in your database. So we just did a mastermind recently, and we had everybody pull out their iPhones and go into contacts and hit the number of contacts you have on top. Because a lot of new agents will say, I don't have a database, I don't have any leads, I don't know anyone. Well, all you have to do is go into your phone, especially if you have an iPhone, and click on contacts and click how many people you have in your database. And I pulled up, I think I have 2,800 people in my phone, something like that.
There's
And
an app that'll actually put it to a spreadsheet for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that. So I have everybody in my database. But based on that, you can tell, I forget what the number is. It's like for every 12 people, you can get one lead. And then if you nurture them and do the 36 touches, you'll get a second referral or lead from them. So if you multiply, divide it by 12 and then multiply it by 2, that's essentially, and by the number of people in your database, that's essentially how much, business you can earn throughout even just 1 year. So database is important.
Yeah, I had a great guest on last week. Actually, her podcast went out on Friday, Sophie Gordon.
Yeah.
And I loved her 4 touches of, she says she wants her people to have her name in front of her at least once a week. And a couple of those are just, the generic emails that come out of your CRM. You generate, some little tidbit or something. She said, I don't even care if they open the email, as long as they see that I emailed them and it came from Sophie, that it's registering to them. So when all of a sudden when they are ready to buy, or they know somebody, say, yeah, I get Sophie's email all the time, and go back in there and find, and call her. It's so important.
Exactly.
You're right on with that.
Right. And that's, and she's right on that as well. We do weekly emails that we send out to our database every week, particularly our sphere of influence. We make sure that we're in front of them all the time. One of the things I think I said last time I was on your podcast, when I came into this business, I wanted to be known as my name, Julia Almstead. I did not say Julia sells St. Augustine, Julia Homes, Julia this. It was Julia Almstead. Right. And I wanted my name to resonate. So everything I was always putting out there was, I'm Julia Almstead. I don't introduce myself as Julia. If I meet people, I always tell them I'm Julia Almstead, because I want the name to resonate. And so I think, she's definitely right on track. You want your name to resonate. So when they think real estate, they think, your name, if you're a realtor. Same thing with you as a lender, right? Now this podcast, I think of you all the time. You're doing a fabulous job on this podcast.
Well, hopefully you're out there. I've dabbled into some new technology. So I've got back on TikTok. I gave TikTok up for a little bit, but you're seeing a lot more reels back on YouTube, because I'm going to take this conversation that we had and take it over to a new app. It's called Opus Clips is the name of it. It'll evaluate the whole.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used it when I had a similar conversation with Dunya Taylor up in Nassau County, Fernandina Beach, with Remy Realty. And I had said, hey, cut some clips, and artificial intelligence goes through, and it probably gave me like 27 clips. I got to about 9. I said, that's enough of the conversation. But
enough.
Some of them aren't as good, or you listen to them, that's not so good. So I selected the best 9, and all of a sudden now, the amount of content that comes from here, and you could continue being top of mind by getting out on your social media, about you talking about real estate and repurposing it. So I'm going to do the same thing with you today. I'm going to send it up to Opus Clips and let them clip out, and we'll choose the best ones, and you'll see them on YouTube. You'll see them on Instagram and on the Facebook as well. So
looking forward to it. That's another thing we are going to be focusing on this year. I've always done videos over the years, but not very structured, where I'm, putting the content out consistently. I'm not afraid to be on video or talk or anything like that. I always wanted to be an actor, so it comes natural for me to be a ham.
Well,
But
this
I
format is so much easier.
definitely,
You're just flowing out in
yeah.
conversation, and like I said, the video editors can sit there, and now that artificial intelligence and I invite any real estate agent, if you're still listening to the show and you want to get on and have a conversation like Julia and I are. I try to do 1 or 2 a week where we try to keep it to 30 minutes. This one's gone a little longer than normal, but what you're
Yeah,
doing,
sorry.
what's going on in the market, so your people are seeing you talking about real estate and staying top of mind. So. We're about
And I
40
will
minutes.
add one
Julia, anything
last
you want to
thing.
add?
Yes, one last thing is
Hmm.
2024 is going to be a great time to buy. So this first quarter, people who missed buying in the last quarter, take the opportunity to buy now while interest rates have not come all the way down. You're going to save money by negotiating the price down versus the interest rate. So anyone who bought in the last quarter of this year, we know that prices are only going to go up. Our projection, and from everything I've been listening to, rents are starting to come down a little bit because people don't want to rent. They want to own, they want to invest. So if you're going to buy this first quarter, get on it, do it, and worry about refining later on because
Right.
you're going to save a lot more money if you negotiate that price down. It's a buyer's market right now, and I encourage people to do it.
Well,
All
anyone listening
right.
here, Julia is your expert here. Obviously, St. Johns County, and spilling into Flagler because that's a demand
Mhm.
area. But Julia Almstead team. Make sure we say Julia Almstead.
Yep.
All right,
Julia
that's the
Almstead
brand.
team.
Give her a call at Keller Williams Atlantic Partners. And now, Julia, I wanted actually have one thing I wanted to your team. You're bringing your daughter on. Are you looking to, maybe some agents that need some guidance? I know you have probably a bunch of people in that office down there, but are you looking to grow the
Yeah.
team, or are you just trying to keep it your small family unit there?
I'm looking to grow the team. I got to put the fan on. It's getting hot in here. Sorry. I was trying not to blow my hair, but I got to put the fan on. I have considered growing the team. I probably will because we're getting more leads than we can handle.
Hmm.
We right now are running. I don't do a whole. I used to never do a lot of online stuff, but my daughter, who's married and on the team, actually started a lead generation company with her husband called Realty Lab. And they have been getting us so many seller leads that we're inundated right
Seller
now with
leads, nice, nice.
seller leads.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be an opportunity for an experienced agent to join our team in the near future. Just because I literally at 10 o'clock, I have a seller consultation, another one at 1 o'clock, and then I have a listing appointment at 5.
Wow, that's
Um,
awesome.
and we're trying to, maintain. We do use a great transaction coordinators. We have 2 of them, highly experienced, who can also maintain listing management for us, which is important. So we are transitioning as we grow. To do 100 transactions this year is going to take us building out a team. It's the only way we can do it.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do it alone, that's for sure. My daughter's going into production, and most likely we're going to hire a new admin here soon. So to answer your question, yes, we are growing. Sorry, I got
All right.
something.
Anybody interested in all of that, you need to call Julia. Obviously, just Julia Almstead on Facebook as well. I was just looking on her website here this morning. Get that information. Julia, I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. You guys have a great 2024. Everyone out
10-4.
there,
We'll talk
peace
to you.
out. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.